Hey, Dave Stallman here. I'd like to give you a little homework help on these trig transformations. In the previous video, you had done these problems and written sine equations for all of these curves, except for number 9. We're crossing number 9 out. So now what I'd like to do is show you how to do the same thing for a cosine curve. And we're going to start right here in the middle with number 5. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, now the first thing that I want you to know is that the sine and the cosine curve are identical except for one thing. And that one thing is how we define the starting point. The starting point of a sine is in the middle going up. And so that's the starting point for the sine. The starting point for a cosine is at the maximum going down. So that's the cosine. Everything other than where we put the starting point is identical. So if we look at what we did yesterday for the sine, we determined the amplitude was 2. And you know what? It's exactly the same for the cosine. We determined that the number of cycles in 360 degrees, or 2 pi, was 1, and that stays exactly the same. And we determined that the vertical shift was -1, or the location of the middle was at -1, and that stays the same. The only thing that's different is the phase shift, the horizontal shift, or basically where's the starting point. For the sine, the starting point is at 0. For cosine, it's right up here. And let's see, right there. So that's 0, that's pi, that's halfway, so it's pi over 2. So we can write the cosine function like this. 2 cosine, the b value is 1, theta minus the phase shift, which is pi over 2, and then the -1. The only thing that's different between a sine and a cosine is that horizontal phase shift right there. All right, let's go sideways to this problem that we did yesterday. And this was the sine information. Let's do the cosine over here. A equals B equals H equals K equals. We know the only difference between a sine and a cosine is where they start. We said the sine starts there in the middle going up. So I'm going to choose that spot right there for the cosine start. So let's write in all the numbers. A is 1, that's the same for both. B is 2, that's the same for both. K is 0, that's the same for both. We just have to adjust this H value. And there's 0, there's pi, that's halfway. So that's pi over 2. And we just write our equation. The A value, the cosine, the B value, theta minus the H value, pi over 2, and then the K value is the same. So again, the only thing different between a sine and a cosine is that phase shift number right there. All right, I'm going to call it quits right there. You can email me or post in Google Classroom any questions that you have, and I will do my best to help. I know you can do this.